What's up, Latino Nation? My name's Tony Delgado.
And I'm Bianca Rodriguez.
And welcome to Latino Wall Street Live. Today we're going to be jumping into the news, trending topics, what's going on in the world of finance and politics.
We're also going to be talking about a bunch of different political, situations that are happening with the new Trump administration and DOGE, which is an acronym for the Department of Governmental Efficiency under Elon Musk, which has been causing quite a controversy across social media. There's a lot of talk about regarding what they've been doing, don't you think?
Yeah, they want to give out $5,000 checks, refund checks to every single American citizen. They're cutting budgets all across the government, and they want to reward the American citizens by giving us all a refund check.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like free money, right?
Yeah, I think he's taking a page out of the Biden playbook, right? Trying to buy votes. But I mean, I think it sets a good precedent that the tax dollars are actually our dollars, and that they shouldn't just be spending them, and that there are better ways to be using our tax dollars than frivolous spending, which has run rampant. I mean, you know, the Pentagon and the military is spending money. They don't even know where the money is going half the time. And I think it's a good step in the right direction. It definitely sends the right message that the American tax dollars, it is our money, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and the biggest difference between what was the stimulus checks given by Biden, which was indiscriminately for absolutely everybody, is that in this case, if we were to go off of the ideal, of the original proposal, it's that it would go specifically for taxpayers above a certain income threshold, which would be above $40,000. If you make $40,000 a year or more, you may be able to qualify for that $5,000 paycheck. But I mean, all in all, there's a lot of controversy on whether it would affect inflation. In this case, yes, it might, but not as much or not as drastically as it would have been if we had just given a blind paycheck to absolutely everybody in the country, which is not what would be happening with that.
Well, yeah, it's almost the opposite of what Biden did. Instead of paying people to not go to work, it's paying people who are working and trying to reward them. And that's what you've seen across the board with with President Trump's policy proposals. You have things like no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, right? It's really trying to reward no tax on overtime, right? You're really trying to reward the working class for building America and making America great, right?
Yeah, because it's going to counteract the inflationary effects. If you have a working population that is actually contributing to American society in every single aspect that you can think of, then that's going to be beneficial in the long run. We've already seen it happen historically. That's one of the things that, former President Ronald Reagan did, which, a lot of things that we're seeing with this current administration, it's just, it has already happened before. And so that's something that's good because we do tend to learn a lot from history, and we try to do that so that we avoid repeating it. But in this case, repeating the positive aspects of it when it comes to the economy is going to be great for everybody. And so that's the one thing that is like the biggest takeaway for me.
Yeah, definitely. And fun facts about Reagan. Number one, he's the first person to say "Make America Great Again." So a lot of people don't know that. And second fun fact is me and Ronald Reagan were born on the same birthday. I was born when he was in office, so I didn't get a chance to meet him. But it's definitely fun to kind of see the second coming of the Make America Great Again movement with President Donald Trump and revitalizing the party of Reagan, right?
Yeah, I agree. And one thing that I think is really interesting too, like just going back to the DOGE concept, is that Elon did mention that they have been able to, like, so far, I mean, we haven't even been a full year, not even, the first quarter.
It's the first month, right?
It's literally the first month. They've already saved approximately $55 billion in all the cuts that they've been doing, in the thousands of federal employees that have been fired. And there's a lot of controversy with that because, at the end of the day, we don't like people just all of a sudden losing their jobs. But at the same time, if you weren't doing anything and you were just a lazy worker that was just collecting a paycheck, just like all the other dead people that they found with Social Security fraud, I mean, you got to go. That's how I see it.
Well, yeah, and that brings us up to our next talking point here, which is Elon Musk's ultimatum, sending out those emails and asking every single government and federal employee, what are 5 things you accomplished? And yeah, I definitely think a lot of them are pulling up a blank. A lot of these employees, I mean, they haven't been required to come into work probably since COVID. They're floating kind of below the radar, and they're basically stealing from the American taxpayers. They're taking a paycheck, collecting a paycheck for a job they're not doing.
Exactly. And that's just, it's unacceptable. I mean, like, you have to think for yourself right now. It's, a lot of you, probably 50-50, you either get a refund or you have to pay a tax penalty every tax season. Do you find it fair that right now, like, all of your hard-earned money is going to a government that's simply not using your money the right way, or that you're not seeing it, just come back to you throughout healthcare reform or just better services or better infrastructure in general? Because we see the world around us, we see the streets, they're all crumbling down. That money is not really being used. Why? Because we have had people behind the scenes literally money laundering our own taxpayer dollars, our hard-earned taxpayer dollars that we deserve to have back in our pockets. And so with this type of measure, I do think that he's already demonstrated it. He's been able to root out a bunch of government inefficiency, bureaucracy, and raising the levels of productivity. I mean, right now there's a lot of them that are kind of like on the edge, but I feel like if you have nothing to hide and you're not guilty of anything, you wouldn't be feeling so on edge. So I feel like we should observe the people that are actually protesting and kind of question them, or question, the motives behind it. Like, why are you so suspicious about what's going on, right? So I do think it's great.
Well, yeah, and with the layoffs of getting rid of employees that are not efficient, right, it's going to create all this additional money in the budget to create new jobs for things that we do need, like rebuilding the roads, rebuilding the bridges, creating infrastructure, projects that are going to make America great again, right? And additionally, I mean, think about you in your own job. You can't not show up to work and not produce any results and not be able to come up with 5 things that you've accomplished in your job. So the same way how regular employees have to be productive, I think federal employees should be held to that same standard.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So I'm excited. I mean, there's always going to be haters regardless, but I feel like I'm lately standing more on the side of not the haters, but the ones that are being hated on, because usually those are the ones that are accomplishing the right things and doing the right thing.
Absolutely. So next up we have a really, really special guest, but first, a word from our sponsor.
Presentar el sistema de bienestar de Centinela, la solución de tratamiento de agua bajo el fregadero más grande que usted tiene en cuenta. Dígale adiós a las toxinas dañinas y hola al agua enriquecida con nutrientes esenciales como calcio y magnesio. Disfrute de los beneficios del aumento de pH y la alcalinidad bajo demanda. Todo esto se encaja perfectamente en su hogar con un sistema cero de desechos. La instalación es fácil y toma solo 15 minutos para que pueda obtener agua limpia, saludable y degustable directamente desde el grifo. Perfecto para casas de apartamento, alquiler e incluso camionetas. Use el sistema de bienestar del siglo para aumentar su hidratación y bienestar, porque merece lo mejor en cada gota de siglo H2O para obtener el bienestar.
And we're back. And next up, we have a special guest, world-renowned conspiracy theorist, flat earther, trans activist, and most importantly, award-winning singer and songwriter, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Jimmy Levy. Let's give it up for Jimmy Levy, y'all. What's up, bro? Thank you for coming, dude. Let's wave to all the fans. Hi. We love you, Jimmy. So Jimmy, thank you for being on the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
So we have a bunch of really controversial topics. You're used to getting canceled, so this should be a walk in the park for you.
Yeah, sadly. Yeah.
So when did you become a flat earther? When did you realize that the earth was flat? And what do you think all the other Trump supporters need to know about how flat the earth is?
Well, I don't, I get called a flat earther, but I'm not a flat earther. I just believe that the earth is a firmament, and it's because that's what the Bible says. They try to show this thing for the flat earthers, like we're gonna fall off this disc in space, but I don't believe in space either. So
you don't believe? So you think SpaceX, Elon, it's all a scam? What are they doing up there?
I don't know what they're doing. I think Elon does some nice things, but I don't believe any rockets are going up there. I think they all land in the water. I think that they only shoot off the rockets from the coasts, because if it came from the middle of the U.S. or the middle of a country, it would land on civilization. And I think when we see the smoke spreading out in the air, it's really just gliding against the water. But yeah, nothing can break through the firmament. You know, the Babylonians tried, and God struck down their whole Tower of Babel. So, you know, I don't know. Yeah.
So tell me more about that. So you believe it's like water up there?
Yeah. Genesis, it says, you know, God made a firmament, divided the waters from the waters, the Shemaim, you know, and created a Rakia. So, yeah.
So it's not defamation when they call you a flat earther, all these media outlets and
I
stuff.
guess it is semi-defamation because I never use the word flat, and neither does the Bible. So, but the Bible does say it doesn't move. The Bible, you know, says four corners of the earth. People can argue, oh, you know, it's just certain language or whatever. But you know,
So this is a serious belief that you hold, that the Bible says that there's a firmament. This is interesting.
yeah,
I've never really heard it spoken about in this way.
yeah. I mean, it's in there. It's right in the beginning too. A lot of people want to ignore Genesis, you know, and then just think about the other books and completely ignore the first book. I mean,
Well, the one thing that I love about the Bible is Genesis is so good that it's almost like God said, even if you don't get to the rest of the chapters, I'm going to put all the good stuff in here. So I love Genesis. I love the power of your word. In Genesis, you know, there was nothing, and then God said, let there be light, and then you had light. Let there be water, and then you have water. Let there be man. Let there be
a firmament.
let there be a firmament,
Yeah.
right? But the one thing that we learn there is the power of your word can create things, right? So I always use the example of like a big real estate developer like President Trump, right? Any real estate developer, before there's a building there, they have to envision it, and then they have to tell people about it. And it's really the power of their word that people believe in them to then go and build that building, right? So you can create things with your word.
Yep.
And in Genesis, they teach you that God is the ultimate creator, but then we're created in his image. So
Right.
we're all creators. We're all
Yep.
mini creators out here trying to make a difference. And so, yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that. Let's talk a little bit about your faith, man. It's super interesting. I know you've had a spiritual journey from kind of being on the dark side to now coming towards the light. Do you want to talk about that early in your musical career? I know that you had some dark things, and now you're doing all this music that's conscious and is faith-based. So you want to talk about that journey?
Yeah, I mean, I started off as a songwriter when I was 15 years old. I was writing for a lot of the big names as a ghostwriter. And eventually, you know, you see people successful with your lyrics, your stories, and there's kind of like I wouldn't say envy because envy is evil, but kind of a jealousy. And jealousy is like how God is jealous when we serve other gods, right? I had this jealousy, like people are singing my story, my pain, my emotion, and it's getting big, and it's like all these people think that this is their song when I signed up for this. So, you know, I wanted to make my own music. I started working my way into the industry, and, you know, I realized that a lot of the people in the industry did a lot of dark magic, a lot of dark arts. I grew up in a psychic family, so I always had that open-mindedness for, you know, witchcraft and occultism. My grandma was the psychic for Elvis, for a lot of the big people, and she was their guides, and she hosted seances, and, you know, she was known as one of the biggest psychics ever. And my mom, she was America's most famous teenage psychic, put in Ripley's Believe It or Not. You know, she told Jimmy Carter to get out of the White House, and he did, and then an attack happened there. And they put her in that book, and she got kicked out of school. She had her whole life talked about on Lifetime, narrated by Melissa Etheridge, the singer. So I grew up in this whole thing, a psychic family, and I always like was into like something outside of Judaism, which is what, you know, my family originally practiced. And you know, being in the industry, I because of my open-mindedness to that, I was like, okay. And then I got into like, you know, doing rituals and stuff like that with some of my friends in the industry, and I realized that doing those things caused a lot of consequences.
What kind of rituals?
I would now call it a satanic ritual. More so Luciferian. Satanic is worship of self, but Luciferian is worship of the devil. And
And what does that look like in practice?
I could talk about some of the things I used to do.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to say names of anyone, but
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I would take like my blood and mix it with the blood of an animal, most likely a swine, and then make a manifestation on the wall or make a declaration saying, "Oh, I want this." And to me, I was like trying to be cool and edgy in the beginning because like I was retaliating against just really wanting to know, wanting to be embraced and to know God. And that's what everybody's doing in the industry, on every religion, every, and every retaliation. It's everybody just wants God, and I didn't know God and who that was, yet. And so doing those things, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just do this. I saw how things work and how the dark world actually moves. I saw how my manifestations that I created actually happened. And I was like, okay. But then bad things just started happening. I got depressed. I became on drugs. I lost people to suicide. I lost people to murder in the industry. And I started realizing how dark it is and how real Satan is. And I was like, well, growing up Jewish, you don't believe in Satan. You don't know about, I didn't know much about Jesus or whatever. But I was like, if Satan is real, then Jesus has to be real. And my friend Big Nick, he would call me all the time because all my music, like my whole personality changed. Everything was dark. I would wear all black all the time, wearing capes. Um, I got called the Prince of Darkness on American Idol. I embraced this whole persona that actually ended up becoming my personality. All my music, I was singing about Satan. I was creating a whole satanic worship album. I was literally worshiping him in my spirit and in my truth. And then I was like, all right, this is really bad. And Nick, one day I was so scared because, I was getting some threats from people because I started trying to like ask questions and speak out against certain things that happened. And my friend Nick, he's like, I want to tell you about Jesus. He would always call me. I was like, I don't want to hear that, I'm Jewish. And Nick was one of the biggest YouTubers. He left the YouTube industry to become a full-time minister. Now he is one of the biggest ministers of the gospel online. And he said, Jimmy, you're not even practicing Judaism. You're doing some satanic stuff right now. I see everything you're posting. Everything was about Satan. And he saw a video I did with Rick Ross where it was very like, everything was Satan in it. And I said, okay, what do you want me to do? He goes, go get baptized. So I was like, you want me to get baptized? My family's Jewish, they're Israeli. Like, that is like a stab in my grandparents' heart. He's like, honestly, you should do it. And I want to start discipling. And I was like, all right. I mean, I was so scared. I lived in Satan's spirit of fear that something bad was going to happen to me if I spoke out, because of what I realized. People do get killed. People do get silenced when they turn to the good. And I did it. I got baptized. I posted on Instagram, like, can someone baptize me? I was so scared.
Wow.
And next morning, 6 a.m., I'm at the beach with this family. They baptized me in the ocean in Miami. And I didn't feel anything, I'm going to be honest, initially. But when I got home, I got on my knees and I was like, God, Jesus, I said it just like, whatever it is, please just come into my life right now. I don't want to be scared anymore. I want to have this boldness because I know what I've done in my past was wrong, and now I want to do good. And I felt this like IV type of feeling in my body and warmth. I just broke out crying. And then the next morning, I fell asleep on the ground actually because I had a nice fluffy carpet and I fell asleep there. But the next morning, I wasn't scared anymore, and I just started going off against the whole industry online. And then the whole media started turning on me because I had been off of American Idol and all this stuff. So they're all like, conspiracy theories, this, that. And I was a liberal. I was far left. My first song was an anti-gun song. I sang it at the March for Our Lives when the school shooting happened here in Parkland by my house.
Wow.
And all I cared about was the kids. But my song was no need for weapons, ease your aggression, love and be loved. And the left was like, oh yeah, let's take that and use him for anti-gun propaganda. I didn't know that was a thing. So I was like, yeah, screw the guns. We can just love. Now I have 10 guns. But it's like, I was so far, I had songs about BLM, about climate change. Like I just wanted to help humanity, but I realized I was being brainwashed into thinking that this is what helping humanity is. So once I made this whole transition spiritually and understanding how the world really works, how Satan is real and how Jesus is real, I was like, okay, this is how you help humanity. You point people to him. And my music started changing. I thought, oh, everything's good, I'm in the clear. And then I received the contract that was going to change my life. And I was excited. This is the contract I lived for, and I got many contracts, but like they were not as big in the amount. And basically it said, that I can't talk about the things I'm talking about. I can't talk about God, that they're going to write 2 albums for me, that they're going to turn me into the next big thing. And I saw some of the artists they work with, and they were people that I had looked up to before I knew the spiritual side of things. And my friend Mises, who's a Christian rapper, he said, if you sign that, you're selling your soul. And I said, how? said, "What profits a man to gain the world and lose his soul?" Now, I was new in
Wow.
Christian, in like following Jesus, and I was like, okay, so what do you want me to do? I wanted to put my mom in the house. I wanted to, do all the stuff I always dreamed about. And he said, why don't you make a song exposing everything? You've built an audience speaking out, but now why don't you make a song? And I took everything off my social media for a while. Like, everybody was wondering if I either got killed or sold my soul. Like, they didn't know what was going on. And out of nowhere, he introduces me to this rapper, and then we all did his event in Orlando. It was really nice. And then me and the rapper created a song called "This Is a War," and we put out that song. We filmed it at a rally in New York. The lockdowns were happening. I was speaking out about it, and we record the video. We show the heart and the soul of this rally, and it comes out within an hour of the song coming out, hit #1 in the US. 11 hours later, it was like #1 in 30 countries, posted by all the politicians, all the fighters. Everybody just took off, and I was like, okay, this is what God wanted me to do. But obviously, the label didn't want to work with me anymore. No one around me wanted to work. My whole team before, because I was very, on the fence and the liberal side, nobody wanted to work anymore, and they were all against what I was doing. They didn't understand that my calling was to serve God, was to wake people up, and wasn't to do the dark stuff that I was doing before. And whether it was intentional or unintentional, by example, like the agendas that I was pushing without knowing, just because I thought that was helping humanity. So, that's, and then, that's what I've pretty much done until now. I make music to wake people up, and now I'm creating house music because I love house music and it has the gospel in it. Why not?
Yeah, no, definitely. I remember that song, "This Is a War," and it went viral all around the world. And then you got a huge following in Brazil, right? And
Brazil.
so much so that I thought you were Brazilian, because I was like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
you were even, blamed for like
Oh my
insurrection in
gosh.
Brazil, and
Yeah.
you weren't even there. So that's
I've
crazy.
never been to Brazil in my life. One thing I noticed from the beginning of my music, whenever I look at analytics, Brazil was always the top listeners. So then, during Brazil's hardest time, which was when they believed their election was stolen, and Bolsonaro, who I love, a great president, they had huge rallies, millions of people for over 70 days. They had like January 6th times 100,
Mhm.
and they didn't back down even when they got attacked and everything. And they were just blasting my music. Bolsonaro was on the stage, and all my songs are being played.
And
Then,
they were using your song like a rallying call, like
yeah,
we need justice in our country.
and I was just
Yeah.
like, okay, you guys are showing love. Like, I'm gonna start talking about what's going on there. Show love back. Why not? And I was like, wow, I feel like I'm part Brazilian now.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. I definitely know a lot of Brazilians that want to adopt you. That's for sure. So let's talk a little bit about your, I guess, switch to MAGA, because you sort of went, I guess, from a Democrat to a Republican, or a Democrat to a Trumpian. I feel like I've said this a lot on media. Like, I think the MAGA movement is Democrats and Republicans coming together, especially in this last election. It's like the unity party. But
yeah.
I guess let's talk about your transformation from kind of being on the left to now being part of the MAGA movement and sort of being a staple in that movement.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm a MAGA artist. I love the idea of making America great again and making America healthy again. But I kind of don't like being placed in that box, and I feel like a lot of people put me in it. Not you, but like in general. And however, yeah, I mean, I stood up for Trump from the beginning. A lot of these artists that were either supporting him privately, or I'd go to Mar-a-Lago and see them there, but swear I saw them online hating on him like a day before. Like, they were scared to say it because they didn't want to lose their money or career. I guess now it's nice, whatever. Everyone's like coming on the side, but
Yeah, I know. I was saying, I was like, well, where was everybody? Where was Nelly when before the election? Like, it's nice, hey, after that he won and now he's in power, now everybody wants to kind of play ball. But
as long as they didn't talk bad, I don't mind. But if
yeah,
they talked bad before, I know you have to forgive, the most important thing. But it's like, okay, yeah, it's like, all right. Yeah.
So let's talk about Make America Healthy Again. I know that you've had a health transformation in your own life.
Yeah.
You've done some work with Kennedy, with RFK. What has Make America Healthy Again meant to you and your transformation?
So the Maha movement has meant the world to me. During the lockdowns when I was creating the songs, "So War, Welcome to Revolution," "God Government," all the songs against the mandates, all the songs standing up for the kids that were vaccine injured when no artist was giving them any attention. In Revolution, we were putting the testimonies, showing the kids in the wheelchairs that were once healthy, kids that are now paralyzed, kids that have a face that is no longer mobile, families that lost their kids, shortly after the trials. And RFK was there from the beginning. He had the Children's Health Defense. He was trying to wake people up. He was going to rallies and getting...
Even before COVID, he was...
Before, yeah. I mean, before that, he was, doing big cases, the water and clean energy and, just everything about health, everything just trying to help and straight up humanitarian work. But I met him during COVID. I met him the first time during Defeat the Mandates. I was singing on stage and then he comes out dancing while I'm singing. Him, Robert Malone, Peter McCullough, all the doctors, they all just come out dancing while we're singing. And I was just like, oh, that's cool. I had no clue who he was. I knew who Robert Kennedy was. I knew the Kennedy family, but I didn't know what his face looked like. But I think it was the after party inside the Ritz-Carlton in DC. I'm standing by the elevator because I was a very shy kid and I'm still like working on my social awkward, whatever. And I'm standing by the elevator because I was being, everybody during that time like was very like wanting to talk to me and stuff. And so I was kind of just like not a talker. And so I was standing by the elevator just like on my phone, like just watching the videos from earlier and seeing the stuff I missed. And Kennedy, the elevator opens and Kennedy's there. He comes up to me, doesn't say a word. He just goes, takes a selfie of us, and then goes back into the elevator. I'm like, who is that?
He wanted a selfie with you.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And
Oh my God.
I was like, who is that? And then he goes back then, and then I remember watching the videos from the thing, and I see that the media is hating on it. It says Kennedy. I'm like, oh wow. And then I ended up seeing him again in San Diego when he was promoting his book, which is an amazing book. The Real Anthony Fauci exposes a lot. And I saw him there, and then all the events, all the children health events. The LA Defeat the Mandates was another one that was insane. And then now,
yeah, talk about your personal journey now, because now you've lost a bunch of weight and you're getting healthy. And
and
what sparked that in you?
So a lot of my friends do security for other celebrities, and one of my friends is my best friend named Corey. He is the security for many artists, but one named 6ix9ine. So 6ix9ine has been a very controversial figure in the music industry.
To say the least,
Yeah. But I like the people that are hated by everyone. And I wouldn't say he's hated by everyone, but from what I've heard in the music industry, people talk bad, and I never met him at the time, so I wasn't able to say anything. But when I met him, he was the nicest person ever. Really, really cool. That's why you always just have to meet the person. He brings him, to my hotel, and basically, we were having a conversation just about God, about the music industry, just everything. And it was him and the security, and they're like, but you're fat, isn't that a sin? And it was when I was talking about God and his calling, because I know that aside from everything that he's been through, the reason that he's still here, despite everything that's happened in his life, there's been a lot compared to all the rappers that are no longer here. He has a calling from God. God is keeping him here for a mission to switch his radical audience into believers and warriors and patriots, and to wake people up during this time, 100%. So I was trying to, speak that whatever, but him and his manager or his friend were like, oh, but you're fat, isn't that a sin? And that day I was like, all right, so let's go to the gym then. And we went to the gym. Me, my friend Corey, and his friend, I guess they are, I don't know if the other guy's his friend or security, but whatever, he's a good guy. And it was just us four, and we went to the gym. We're all in the Stairmaster together, just like that. And from that moment on, I went to the gym every day, and then in 1 year I lost 200 pounds. So
really,
yeah. So that's the Maha for me.
That's incredible. And what'd you do? You did did you do Ozempic or cocaine, or what was your secret?
My secret at the end of the day is a high fat diet. I eat there were days I ate almost a pound of butter a day.
Wow.
And people were taught, oh, fat is so bad for you. Cholesterol, it's all a matrix. It's not, it doesn't affect your cholesterol. Once you start eating high fat, no sugar, very, very low carb and medium protein about the size of your hands, that's like the best type of diet you could have.
Really? And so you lost all the weight natural, no drugs, nothing weird?
No drugs, nothing weird. Exercise, I was very excessive in the beginning of exercise. I would be on the stairs for like 2 hours.
Really?
You know, there were in the beginning when I was really going hard. Now I've gotten lazy. I do weights and like I'll do 30 minutes of cardio. But in the beginning, my cardio was like crazy, ridiculous. So
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So I guess one of my questions is, you've had such a transition to your career. What made you want to bring politics and faith into your musical career? I would assume you would have had a much easier time if you didn't do that.
Oh yeah, I mean, if I didn't do any of the stuff I did, I'd probably be one of the most successful and wealthiest artists in the industry, secluded from everyone, just pushing agendas and taking endorsements from Pfizer and, you know.
Well, that's our sponsor. Just relax with the Pfizer stuff.
sorry. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you have to. As an artist, you have a duty. Whatever you're speaking, it's a gift from God, and you're speaking life into everything that you're saying, and anyone that's listening is coming into agreement with it, whether they personally agree or not. Their subconscious agrees with whatever they're listening to, and it's becoming a part of their life. So I have a duty to speak the truth, speak life, and speak the gospel in my music, and that's it. It's simple as it is.
Love that. Love that. You have a very unique background, because we were speaking off camera. You have family from Russia and then also from Israel, and there's wars and conflicts going on in all these places. And there's a quote that I heard at Mar-a-Lago that really stuck with me. It's like, when a baby is born, a child is born, they're not a Democrat, they're not a Republican, they're just a kid.
Right.
And how do you think your music and your message, if you had a message for the world leaders around the world, there's so much war, there's so much pain going on in the world, what is your message to the world leaders?
Message to the world leaders. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody needs Yeshua. There's no one that can, I mean, they can, but they won't. There's no one that can operate any decisions, any legislations, any bills or any action in the war, or taking any actions without Yeshua. And the difference is, like, when he's with you, but when you're with him, your heart changes. You're not going to be able to kill anybody in the midst of an operation for any type of thing. Everybody, the Jews, the Christians, the Muslims, everyone needs Yeshua. And that's the only thing that will give the discernment, that will give the heart of God, so that people aren't able to go and kill and take an innocent life, whether it's abortion, whether it's war, or whether it's anything. And it takes away any vengeance. It takes away any trauma that seeks revenge. It takes away anything, any negative way you already look at someone. Growing up, I was taught not to look at someone a certain way because they're a certain way. And there's other groups of people that I know for a fact grew up and were taught not to look at me a certain way because of my heritage and who I am. And that's wrong, because once you're in Yeshua, you're already clean slate. You're a new person, and we're just all one big body of Christ. So it doesn't matter our background, doesn't matter our heritage, doesn't matter our ethnicity, doesn't matter our religion. In him, we're with him, we're kingdom. And that's what I can say to the leaders.
I love that. Yeah, love each other, love the Lord, and treat other people the way you want to be treated, right? That golden rule. That's beautiful. Talk about, I guess, your next albums. What's next for you? What are you working on? What are your projects? And what's the next steps for Jimmy Levy?
I'm going to be releasing gospel singles, country singles under Jimmy Levy. And then I created an alias called Gothnik, the Gothic Redneck. It's like my two sides. I get called goth when I wear black a lot. But I want to kind of break the narrative on religious people, because a lot of religious people, they'll be like, you can't sing about God and have tattoos. You can't sing about God and look like that. And so I want to dress in all black, wear a black mask, and dance to house music that speaks the gospel and make people go nuts, because I want to prove a point that it's about the fruit and the heart that matters and not the outside look. So it's going to speak for those people that may be full of tattoos, that people are automatically judging, and they're probably more of a man of God or woman of God than someone that is the pastor at a church that is probably doing the complete opposite. And then the neck represents the redneck part of me, which is like my patriotism, my love for this country, and having my neck out, being bold. And yeah, I'm putting out house music under that, a lot of electronics. So I'm going to learn how to DJ and do my DJ sets and bring back the 80s freestyle Devo and diva sounds, because it was like the real singers without autotune that would have the freestyle beats and just going like, yeah, yeah, like singing, but gospel, you know?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So.
Well, Jimmy Lovey, thank you so much for being on the show, my friend. If people want to connect with you on social media, where should they go?
All socials under my name, Jimmy Levy, and my new alias, Gothneck.
Boom. Jimmy Levy. Check out the new single, 23, right?
23, it's number 3 on the charts right now, on the dance chart.
Jimmy, thank you again for being on the show, my friend.
Having me.
And now we have a special performance from Jimmy Levy.
I built a kingdom for you, and then you broke my fragile heart in two. I should have known by the emotions there was no devotion when I built this kingdom for you. I built a kingdom for you, and then you broke my fragile heart in two. I should have known by the emotions there was no devotion when I built this kingdom for you. I built a kingdom for you, and then you broke my fragile heart in two. I should have known by the emotions there was no devotion when I built this kingdom for you. I should have known by the emotions there was no devotion when I built this kingdom for you.